Hi class, Chef Twa here. Wanted to do my video for you guys with the meringues, but that didn't work out too well last week because I ran out of storage space for my phone. And so I finally cleared it up, and you know, at this point, you guys already knew what soft, medium, stiff peak is because we covered that in the live session through photos instead of my own little video for you guys. So I decided to do a little bit of a different video. Unfortunately, I ran out of piping bags, of course, which is like the worst thing that could ever happen to any pastry chef. But no worries, I'm just gonna do a paper one, which works totally fine. I just kind of finished it with a little bit of a bigger round tip on the bottom right here, and I just threw in a metal tip in there that you see here for my meringue. And so as long as it fits really nicely, you can see that it's just kind of right at the edge right there. That's just all I want, to just show just enough of that middle right there. And once I pipe the meringue, it's just gonna come out really beautiful little Hershey's Kiss looking meringues. And so a lot of you guys are wondering, how can I color my meringue? Sometimes adding in food coloring is gonna add liquid to your meringue, which is gonna cause a lot of cracking in your meringue cookies. You don't wanna add additional liquid in there. You know, there's already a ton of liquid in like the egg whites itself, and with the proteins breaking apart, you're really creating that air bubble to create the meringue. But when you add liquid to it, it's gonna deflate it, and it's actually gonna become less structured with the protein and the aminos that are in egg whites. And so there is a trend that is pretty cool where I'm using a very generic brand type of food coloring, but you want to use gel food coloring for this, okay? Gel food coloring, it consists of mainly corn syrup and just you know, artificial coloring, of course. And the great thing about it is that when you have the color in the exterior, you don't eat too much food coloring, right? But then most of that food coloring is just dries out on the exterior, and as you bake your meringue, you already know that it kind of dries out. The first thing that dries out is the shell of the meringue cookie itself. And so this is going to dry with it when you use these gel food coloring. And so one way to get really nice colored streaks in there, how to make like rainbow color, you know, I have a few skewers right here that I'm just gonna put, you know, the colors, food coloring on it. I'm gonna do Roy G. Biv, which is red, orange, yellow, green, and blue, which is rainbow. And so I literally add just that much of food coloring, okay? And so I'm gonna streak it along the inside. I'm gonna go with a red streak, just kind of spread it as much as I can. I'm probably gonna add a little bit more, because this is a little bit of a thinner one. If I use gel food coloring that is like AmeriColor or a little bit more on the expensive side, it usually a little goes a long way. But the generic brands are a little bit less concentrated, a little bit more diluted, so you might want a little bit more of it. And so just kind of spread it on a little bit like that. You can see the interior. I'm gonna do this with each one of the colors. Here you can see that. Usually it's easier with plastic because you can see all the colors kind of lining through, but I don't have that today, so it's all about improvising. Sometimes you don't have everything available, and that's what makes great pastry chefs, is that they can improvise at any given time with whatever they have. If this was, you know, more of my professional kitchen, I probably have much more equipment, but this is more my house, and I just don't really bring any of that with me. And so red, orange, yellow so far. I'm gonna do green, blue, and a purple, but I'm gonna add pink in between because I love how pink looks on this. Okay. You're probably wondering, Chef Twa, you're just wasting so much skewers. I'm like, it's okay, because I reuse them to light my grill. So I just wash out that food coloring, and then I reuse them often. And if not reusing it for, you know, situations like this, if I did it more often. But I'm just gonna reuse it more so into my little barbecue when I barbecue. So I have, where am I at? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue. I'm gonna do pink right here. Perfect. And then the final one, I'm gonna do purple. Okay. Kind of see how that's all kind of lining on the inside right there, different colors. All right, see the inside of that? All colors, and I did make my meringue, the same recipes that you guys use. Beautiful texture right there. And if I had a bigger piping bag, I would probably fit this whole thing in there. But I don't, so I'm gonna be very minimal with how much I put into my little tiny bag right here. I didn't fill it in too much. I want to give myself room to at least still close the top right here. Okay. So, here's my little bowl here. I'm going to keep piping it. Most of the colors usually start to show a little bit. Perfect, I'm starting to see the color. I'm gonna start piping it. As I pipe it, you'll see that there's gonna be more color showing the deeper you get into the piping. And so let's go ahead and start piping. Beautiful. You can see how that food coloring just starts to really become prominent. It just really shows gorgeous color. And it gets more and more beautiful as you pipe it. Okay, kind of already see how those are looking. One side has a little bit more color than others sometimes, but you can see that the more we start piping it, the more these ones got a lot more color right here. So I'm gonna keep doing it because my piping bag is just sad now. And being that sad, I'm gonna have to create another one. But if you have your reusable, you have your plastic ones, use it because that would have made a whole tray. So I'm gonna have to redo all this again. But I'm gonna bake it and I'm gonna show you the final results afterwards. All right, so they turned out fantastic. And I'm gonna show you the results here in a little bit. But I did take it out a little bit earlier than I was supposed to earlier, and it ended up creating the cracks. Originally there wasn't any cracks, and then that you can start seeing the cracks on the outside, and that was a really good indication that I took it out too soon. So the inside was actually still a little wet when the outside was actually dried off, and it ended up collapsing the interior of the meringue cookie, which ended up causing it to crack. But I ended up finishing up the results, the final results. I let it dry out completely, but unfortunately I couldn't avoid those cracks. And so you can see here how they all turned out, and they come off beautifully. That's what you're looking for when you're making these cookies. You want it to peel off really nicely. And you can see that the first ones I did, right, that the color of it is a little bit lighter, and that was when I used the skewers. And so I used the skewers, which actually really helped me minimalize the amount of let's see, I'm trying to get this to be a little bit brighter here. It actually ended up minimalizing the amount of food coloring I used. And so it's got this beautiful finish. It looks nice and done, no issues there. Very beautiful shine to it. You can see that little crack there. That's because I took it out a little bit too soon earlier. But the second time round, when I did more food coloring because I wanted a more vibrant color, you can see how much more vibrant that is. However, I wanted to test this because I didn't know how much food coloring is too much food coloring. And I'm gonna test this. I'm not a really big fan of this. I'm not a big fan because I'm scared I'm gonna end up with like a blue tongue. But I'm gonna try it, and I'm gonna let you know if this ended up being the perfect amount of food coloring, even though it's nice and pastel and beautiful, right? If you want it a little bit more vibrant, will the food coloring on the outside end up coloring your tongue? So I'm gonna try it real quick, but let's see how this works out. Okay, so the first one, of course, it's gorgeous, right? I'm gonna find the smallest one. And so, okay, I'm like licking it. It looks like the food coloring isn't coming off. Finished inside perfectly. In fact, it's really good. Really good. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna try the one with a lot more food coloring and see if my tongue turns any color. Oh yeah, that one did. Oh. Did you see the red on that? Okay. Yeah. So you can see there is too much food coloring on this. I mean, it looks cool. I mean, it looks fantastic. I mean, look at that. But that food coloring does come off on the outside. So it's better to kind of spread it thinner in your piping bag so that you get a little bit more pastel rainbow. And so you want it to be beautiful, but you don't want it to be excessive, even though, I mean, this looks pretty, but it's gonna end up just coloring your tongue like crazy. So be careful with the amount of food coloring you use, because gel food coloring is very concentrated. And if you do want to color your, you can see that how it's already coming off my finger. If you do want your food coloring to be in the cookie itself, you can definitely add it into the meringue batter. A little goes a long way, but again, make sure you're not using liquid food coloring and that you're using gel food coloring. I use gel food coloring for the exterior, but you can also use gel food coloring to actually color your meringue. Let's say you want to do a mint chocolate one, do that nice green, that little minty green, add a little bit of mint extract. And then what I love about those mint extract meringue cookies is that every single one that's like nice and pastel green, I would dip the bottom of this meringue in like chocolate, in tempered chocolate. Now if I dip that in chocolate, it tastes like a chocolate, a mint chocolate meringue cookie. Some people even add raspberry flavoring or blueberry flavoring, but you know, if you looked back on our study hall, there were flavor emulsions that you could use, and those are concentrated flavor emulsions, not so much as an extract or alcohol base. They're emulsions that are nice and concentrated in flavor. You can use those for these meringue flavoring as well. Again, be very minimal with it. you don't want to change the recipe because it's going to end up changing how your results turn out. So a little goes a long way. But I hope you enjoy that. I hope that the rainbow made things a little bit happier and lighter, and no matter how gorgeous it is, it's going to color your tongue, so be careful. But the pastel itself, less color, but doesn't color your tongue. And so I hope you guys kind of find that middle ground, that balance that works for you and what you want to do. And in the future, you can actually pipe these right on a transfer sheet, and the transfer sheet is actually made out of cocoa butter. And if you have like your logo on the transfer sheet and you pipe each meringue on it, when you lift it, your logo's on the bottom of it. So that's like a whole nother technique. But I don't have any transfer sheets to show you guys that, but I hope that this was a little bit more enlightening in terms of color and how do people get these gorgeous rainbow meringue cookies. But thank you so much, and you guys, again, if you guys have any questions, you know you can always reach out to me. Thank you.